Well, what I've got in this box is a job site table saw from Vevor. They reached out and wanted me to do a review on it. Well, got it laid out. This has the fold-away base, so you can roll it around. So we're gonna get this assembled real quick. So per their instructions, this bolt is supposed to go through this leg. You can see I've already installed this one over here. However, this bolt does not fit through that hole, so I've got a rat tail file. Clean up those edges and it slides right through. That is a minor inconvenience. Very first bolt I went to put together. Can the average person put this together? Yes. Can the average person put this together with only the tools provided in the box? Absolutely not. Well, there's the base assembled. Overall, it's okay. So next up, we need to get the safety features put in the riving knife, riving, whatever it is. So we'll pull the blade guard out. Dust shroud. There, and we've got our. I'm going to remove this while we square everything up real quick. All right, we're going to zero the blade. Well, for a job site table saw, the zero on the angle adjustment is actually pretty accurate. So the last thing we have to do is check the fence, which we have here. This is a job site table saw, but this fence in particular is very interesting to me. We'll see how I like it. I don't know what I think so far. It has this piece here, which is not the length of the guide, and you're actually putting your workpiece up against this piece of plastic. Now, for sacrificial reasons, I understand that, but the reality is, the stop here, you can see this is wider than the body of the aluminum, which means you can't remove this and run a piece of material up against the aluminum slide. Right out of the box, the fence is drastically out of alignment, which that's to be expected, I suppose. This slot should be pretty square to the blade. I haven't checked that, but it should be. And you can see that the fence is almost touching here, and this runs all the way out. It's over a ½ inch off. So it's set at 2 inches. I got a piece of ½ inch. This is birch plywood. This will be the first time turning it on, so let's see how that sounds. Well, it cut perfectly. Let's measure that piece of scrap and see if it's true 2 inches. Well, it's pretty dang accurate for a construction site or mobile table saw. I'm gonna go ahead and actually try and rip a 2x4. So this is a 15 amp motor with a 10-inch blade. We're gonna leave this at 2 inches and we're going to rip a 2x4 and see what happens. That's right at 2 inches. So let's check it for square, and it's also pretty square. All right, well, that worked pretty well. So what's the maximum depth of crosscut we can get here? Let's see. So from the tip of the blade, looks to be about 7 inches. So 1/2 inch plywood, pretty dang square. For a construction grade job site table saw, it's cutting pretty well. All right, before we move on to real world testing, we're gonna run a piece of Paduke. This is African hardwood, I believe it is. So this is true 2 inches by about 6.5 inches long, deep. We're gonna run this through this 15 amp job site table saw, see how it does. No problem at all. I don't have any swirl marks, no burning. I mean, a brand new blade, very sharp carbide tooth blade. Thing is loud. Thing is loud. We're gonna go ahead and throw this blade over to 22.5 and then rip those edges off, and that should give us our pieces we need. I am going to bring you around and show you this turning mechanism for setting the angle. So here's the mechanism for setting the angle on this saw. And when you crank the handle without pushing in on it, it raises and lowers the blade. That's what this plus and minus for. So minus brings it down, plus brings it up. In order to change the angle, you loosen this knob. And I'm just loosening it, and the saw wants to start to move by itself, which is mildly frustrating. If you want to use the handle to change the angle, you can see it has this gear tooth here, and there's a gear on the back of this. You push this in, and it engages with these plastic teeth, and you push and hold, and you crank, and it changes the angle. This works okay. I don't particularly like this feature, but many other saws have the same setup where you have this push knob. The plastic, yeah, it's okay at best. So for the boards I'm cutting today, the angle is not 100% critical, but I did set it at 22.5. We're going to wrap this demo video on this 10-inch, 15-amp Vevor table saw up. The fence has a plastic guard on it that limits the usability of the fence for height and length reasons. Directly out of the box, this is a very inconvenient factor. In conjunction with the fence is the ruler set. I found that it's so inconvenient to use that I end up measuring the boards and then putting them on the saw and adjusting the fence to my line on the board. That's part of the reason you buy a table saw, to not have to do that. So that is massively inconvenient. The instructions when you buy this saw to put it together are fairly straightforward-ish. The pictures are pretty small and the wording is funny. That's what happens when you order something out of another country sometimes. The stand, when you assemble it, it cannot be put together with the provided tools. You have to have other tools to make it work. Once it's put together, the stand specifically is very good. It's high quality, it works extremely well, it folds up nice and small and compact. The stand itself is great. The overall construction of the saw is on the inexpensive end, and that's to be understood based on the price for the saw. I'm not a huge fan of the plastic case. I would have liked to see the roll bar style frame, which Vevor does sell a smaller version of this saw with that frame. Hopefully they upgrade this saw to that in the future. The dust collection does push all the sawdust out the back of the saw. It's pretty nice. This hose that collects from the upper hood is too short. It does not allow you to take full capability of the table itself. Most construction grade saws like this or job site saws like this are loud. This one is very loud. The two major pluses on this saw are the stand itself, which is very good. It works very well. The other one is the price point. All of the negatives come down to how much the saw costs. The reason it's $269.92 on Amazon is because the construction of it is on the inexpensive end. And they're able to keep it down at that price point because of those type of things. The inexpensive fence setup, the ruler setup, the plastic case, those type of things. Overall, the saw does exactly what it claims it will do. It rips well, it cross cuts well, with a few minor modifications to it. For example, putting a wood spacer on here, getting rid of this plastic one on the fence and taking full advantage of the length of the fence, getting the longer hose, and redoing the ruler system on the guide. The saw is going to be very usable. I haven't done any of those things because I wanted to use it as is for the review. I run approximately 300 cuts through here, multiple job sites it's been on. I just will continue to say it does what it's advertised to do, and for the price, you can't get another saw even remotely comparable. There will be a link in the description if you are interested in a saw like this. For me, this would be a great saw for a one-time big job. If you had to do flooring in a house, a large house, or siding on outside of a building or structure or a house, this saw would fit the bill to make sure that those things were easy to do for rip cuts specifically. And the inexpense of the saw, of the overall cost comparison for a project of those large scales, would make it worth it. I put this saw, which is what it's advertised as, in sort of the Harbor Freight category of saws. Harbor Freight specifically sells an equivalent version of this, and they are good to a point. As you guys all know, when you're in that category of saw, you get what you pay for, and you're not paying a lot for this. Overall, I hope this was useful to you. I really hope you got something out of it. And until next time, thanks for watching.